Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here for the Magic is Real podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about all things metaphysical and spiritual with a focus on near death experiences, or perhaps we could call them death experiences, other out of body experiences, spiritually transformative experiences, healing, etc. And I just have one question for you. It's a easy request. If you like this podcast or even just this episode, would you do me a favor and like the video? I know it seems small, but it goes a long way. And leave a comment if you would. I'd love to meet those of you I haven't met. And if you only have a minute or less, just drop a heart. It really helps to get this podcast out to more people who will benefit from it. I hope that is the intention. So thank you for doing that. It's always nice to hear from you. Without further ado, I am Shannon. I'm your host. I am a psychic medium. And today I have with me the wonderful Robbie Holz. Robbie is joining me from up in Washington State. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Robbie and then have Robbie tell us all about herself because that's really why we're here today. Robbie is a healer, a medium like me, and an author of numerous books. I'm going to tell you some of the names of the books: Angels in Waiting, How to Reach Out to Your Guardian Angels and Spirit Guides, Secrets of Aboriginal Healing, A Physicist's Journey with a Remote Australian Tribe, which was written by her husband along with her. And this is a big part of what we're going to discuss. The next is Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening, A Journey of Healing and Spirituality with a Remote Australian Tribe. And then Living Your Best Life with Help from Your Guardian Angel. Robbie is the author of that one herself. And I just want to thank you so much for taking time to be here with me, with the audience, and for sharing all of the things you know and have experienced, because your life story is very interesting in itself. Thank you so much for being here, Robbie.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So, Robbie, I'd love to start with you have an incredible story of healing, which is we're going to talk about. First, I'd just like to start with your background because I would like to know if, in your healing journey, if that's when you discovered your abilities, or if this was something you already had before you got sick and before you found healing through these Aboriginal principles after meeting your husband, who was working with this healing modality to heal himself, which is a fascinating story in itself. But tell me about your background, whatever you're comfortable sharing, and your
Sure.
spiritual journey in general.
Well, I would say I was far removed from all of it. I was very far removed. I was raised in the Midwest, very conservative, strong Catholic upbringing, 12 years of parochial school, nuns in uniforms. And, very driven in my career. I was a court stenographer, the little machines in court, did that for about 25 years. And, not really was not really awake. Certainly, the Catholicism didn't really fit me, but I hadn't found anything that worked. And I ended up delivering my son in '85, and it was a rough delivery. It was about 36 hours. And so they gave me a blood transfusion to perk me up faster, they said. And back in '85, they weren't really testing for hepatitis C. They didn't even know about it. They called it non A, non B. And the blood transfusion gave me hepatitis C, which again, they didn't even have a name for it. They called it non A, non B. And the hepatitis almost killed me. And then I happened to live near Seattle where the experimental treatments were going on at the university for hepatitis. And the university put me on experimental drugs. It saved my life, but the drugs almost killed me again. So almost dying twice. It's interesting you started this whole thing talking about near death experiences, that sort of thing, which is fascinating. But almost dying twice put me down a different path than I had ever envisioned. I had a young son who I really wanted to be around him as much as possible. I didn't think I would survive very long, but I wanted to be with him as much as I could, just to love that little guy and to hopefully have him remember me, because I didn't think he would remember me at all. So I went on this quest to heal, and Western medicine had nothing for me at this point. Once I had almost died the second time using their drugs, those drugs were not going to be of any help to me. So I ended up going down a path that ultimately would be what the Aboriginal healing principles were about. It's finding out the emotions. I was handling a lot of emotions that my body just couldn't handle anymore. At this point, I was in pretty bad shape. I'd been in bed for about 6 months. I had a lot of temporary brain damage from the last major hit. I couldn't remember how to get water out of a tap. Does the tab in your pants go in the front or the back? How do you keep the toothpaste in the tube? Little things like that. Um, and also, I had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. I was really a mess. So I went down this healing path, a magical path, because it was definitely alternative, and ended up healing 100%, and ended up healing what the doctor said was incurable, which at that point the hepatitis they didn't believe was curable, and I healed it 100%. And the experimental doctors using experimental treatments followed me for years and said, yes, you have healed it. We don't understand how you did it, but you have healed it. I knew how I did it, but I didn't think that doctors would really understand the mind component and the soul component to it. So, having healed myself with what they said was incurable at the time, put me on this journey of being passionately wanting to tell other people how to do that. That taking your power back and recognizing that although Western medicine is beautiful and has some wonderful answers, it doesn't have all the answers all the time, and that we're missing a lot of the components to healing. So that's when I decided to start helping people awaken to how to heal themselves, and eventually met Gary down the road. We can go into his story whenever you want, but that's really kind of my background.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I'm so glad to hear that because ain't nobody got time for hepatitis C, and fibromyalgia is extremely debilitating. And from what I understand of it, I have a mind body syndrome uh, ailment. I don't know, condition that I have. It's called muscle tension dysphonia. So I did a lot of the Sarno books of unlearning your pain, and they categorize certain conditions in the as a mind body syndrome, which means that they are psychosomatic, which doesn't mean that you're imagining it. It means it's real, but it's coming from the mind. And fibromyalgia is one of those. PTSD was listed, muscle tension dysphonia, which is when v- your whole throat closes up and tenses up to the point where you can't speak. And
Wow.
and I'm a voice actor, so I had that for 5 years, which started with a physical ail with reflux, but it became a stress disorder, and, it was like a panic disorder. And so what I understand of fibromyalgia specifically too is that it's usually I can't speak for everyone, but usually caused by trauma, some kind of emotional trauma. But I would assume it could be a number of things, and what I learned about it was in the Sarno method is there's no cure, but you can manage the symptoms. So I really am interested to hear about all of that too, and I know I have friends who have fibromyalgia, I know a lot of people that do, so I know that there's hope in your message, which for one thing, which is
And
great.
mine was it did become completely cured.
Yeah,
And
that's amazing.
what I understand about fibromyalgia, it used to be a lot of women. Now it's men, it's women,
Mm,
and also younger people all the time are getting it. What I understand about it now is that it is system-wide stress,
yeah,
not just a specific area, it's throughout the whole system. And the body cannot handle that level of stress, and it just crumbles under the emotional weight
yeah.
from these emotions that are toxic. It was also a way for my soul to get my attention and make me realize that I was needed to go down a whole different path, that I have been putting out the books, helping people, how to heal, how to communicate to their guides. And it was a way of stopping me in my tracks, because I really loved my career that I was doing before. So, but it is curable. It is very healable. One thing I will mention is that when the body, because there's three things involved in healing: the body, the emotions, and the soul. All three are involved, and if all three are aligned with healing, anything can be healed. It doesn't matter what it is. For a lot of people, the emotions are not aligned with healing, and that's really what got created the problem in the first place. And we can go into that whenever you, if you want to.
Yeah.
Or the soul is not aligned, or sometimes people wait so long, they're so entrenched in it that they've done damage, and then now the body is no longer enabled. It's not aligned with healing. But it's about all three of those. So if you have all three aligned with healing, it can be healed. You just follow that inner guidance on how to do it. And that comes back to take back your power. Because the doctors at the time said, you're going to have this forever. I was giving myself shots on a regular basis with the interferon, and that almost killed me. And then they said, well, there's nothing we can do. They didn't think I'd make it to 40, and now I'm in my 70s. So it's just, what is the soul intention? Have you created this yourself, or is the soul trying to get your attention? Is this something you signed up for? I needed to go through a lot because I would be teaching people, and I can't teach it if I haven't been through it myself, because I'm like, what didn't I sign up for? And I realized, stop asking that question because it's not, you don't want to find out what else. But you go through it and you come out the other side, and you do it with tremendous help from the other side, the angels and guides. Huge difference, game changer. I'd love to get into that at some point whenever you're ready. But
Me too.
yeah, it does make
Yeah.
a difference.
And I especially have an interest, having been a successful voice actor and then losing my voice for 5 years, and I remember saying, "Why is this happening to me?"
Hmm.
And during that time is when I had my spiritual awakening,
Yep.
learned mediumship,
Yep.
and now I understand it was because I am a talented actor, but that I had a bigger soul purpose.
Yeah.
And it took 5 years to kinda get to the place of acceptance with that, and then now I can do both, which is, they were like, "Now you can have your voice back. But first you had to kinda go through this so that you can help other people."
Right. Now
Um,
that you're listening. Yeah.
yes, and I teach voiceover, and I teach people how to find their authentic voice. How do
Yeah.
we stay in ourselves and not try to be somebody else, and be authentic and use our voice and not block our throat chakra, though I don't use the word chakra when I'm teaching acting classes, but
Yeah.
yes, so much. So, yes, I want to talk about all of it. So, I think what we can do is, I'd love to start with how you met Gary, because he's such an integral part of this
Okay.
journey, and um how that all came, and how he had healed himself, because
Okay.
he was paraplegic, which is, and had MS, which is
Yeah. He was actually quadriplegic at some point.
quadriplegic, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just say my face is so hot because I have, and I don't know whether you experience this. I would imagine some of your listeners do as well. When I'm working with the team working through me, the energy is so strong. You just want to strip down to, because it's so much energy and heat coming off of me. I can just feel my cheeks are just like on fire.
I love that. I get tingles, I don't get heat, fortunately, but
Yeah.
s
Well,
yeah.
tingles are good too, but yeah, this is not exactly convenient. But people
Right.
Reiki will tell you you can really heat up really fast. Fortunately, it's not summer, so we're good. I met Gary on the 4th of July. It was a party, a big outdoor party in the Seattle area, where he was coming in from California as a healer, and he was a very amazing healer, but I didn't know anything about him. I just knew people were talking about him, but I had no interest. I had at this point healed myself. This was back in '02, 2002. I had healed myself, and I decided I want to heal animals. I've healed myself. Now I want to start healing animals. And I was there at this party wanting to talk to animal communicators and animal healers. And Gary shows up at this party. And apparently, when we first met, all the past lives that we had had together flashed across my face and freaked him out. Understandably, he'd never had that experience before. I had no clue anything was going on, absolutely clueless. So he knew that we had a connection and that we were supposed to be together. So he kept pursuing me, and I had no interest. He said, I'll teach you how to heal animals. And that got my attention. I'm like, okay, I will quit my job that I really enjoy and I will come and work with you if you will teach me how to heal animals. So at that point, I had a sister who was going blind, a younger sister who had been in an accident, a car accident, and she was going blind. She had a little bit of vision on the peripheral side of her eyes. And he found out about that and he said, and Western medicine could do nothing for her. It was really kind of a sad story. And he said, send her out here. She lived in the Midwest. I think I can help her. So she came out here trusting me, not really expecting anything to happen. And she was here with us for 1 week. And in that week, he healed her. And I just instantly fell in love with the man, knowing he had done that for me. It's like somebody had flipped a switch. So that's when I started the journey with Gary. And let me say, when you're working with somebody like Gary, nothing is ordinary. It was just so, when he came, let me just give this a little bit to the listeners who don't know the story. He was a physicist, he was a highly respected magazine cover physicist who had inventions, most of them top secret. And he had developed MS where he became a quadriplegic, which meant he had no feeling from the neck down. And the doctors had pretty much given him a death sentence. He had about 6 months left to live because his organs were starting to shut down. So he was desperate. Again, he had children and wanted to survive for them, just like I did. So he heard that the outback Aboriginals had amazing healing abilities. He was able to contact them through a serendipitous meeting where he met a woman who knew about them, told him about them, and was able to connect him to them. They knew he was coming before he even knew of them. The Aboriginal tribes people did, and they said, "We've been waiting for you. What took you so long?" So he got on a plane in his wheelchair as a quadriplegic and went into the outback. And the outback is extremely harsh. It's a desert. It's incredibly isolated. You can fly in a plane for 4 hours just to get to the middle of it. That's how vast it is. He went into the outback with these people and came out 10 days later uh, with feeling in his body that he hadn't had in 7 years and was no longer a quadriplegic, but technically a paraplegic from the waist down. But he was able to clumsily walk down that airplane aisle on the way back. I mean, but the biggest transformation was the mentally. He realized he had been a scientist, a physicist, and he realized that there's a lot of black magic is real. That's what he realized. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of gray that can't be explained, but it exists. And he ended up coming back to the United States and developing amazing healing abilities, like what the Aboriginal people had demonstrated to him. He started becoming telepathic. He started being able to see inside the body. He could see auras, he could see energy, he could see tumors inside the body, he could see where the blockage of energy was. He could talk to people telepathically. And the only people that knew that was happening were autistic people. They don't have those filters. They always knew he was communicating to them. So he became this amazing healer, very quietly working out here in the Pacific Northwest. People would find him. We would end up having people driving RVs from across the country and parking in our driveway. It was pretty astounding. And he lived for 12 years beyond that time in the outback. We decided at one point we can't keep up with all these people who are coming to us. Let's write a book about this. Let's start putting a healing course online. We can't to get as many people as possible aware of this information because the Aboriginal people had given us very graciously and generously given us their healing secrets. These are ancient healing secrets that are passed down word of mouth for at least 60,000 years. And they asked us to take this information out because they said we didn't really understand how healing worked. And they knew he could do it. And they had only given this information out one other time quite some time ago to a Chinaman. Um, so we didn't really realize, you know, we did this because they had asked us to do it. And I did not realize, Shannon, that we would end up with this book winning awards and being in 47 countries, published in a number of languages, because it resonates with people as the truth. And it was such a generous, beautiful gift that the Aboriginal people gave us. And so I have spent my life, and he did certainly did the rest of his life, getting this information out to teach people the Aboriginal healing principles so that you can have complete healing, not just healing, but sustain that healing. Pay attention to the emotions that have created this, and also to, the Aboriginal people gave us the example of like a dandelion root. If you don't get to the cause, uproot it, it's just going to come back again, whether it's a cancer, a tumor that's been removed, or you heal it but it comes back again. You've got to get to the emotional core. And they also told us about how the soul is involved in this. uh, your soul got your attention. Boy, nothing works like a voice actress who cannot talk.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of bed for 6 months. It certainly got our attention. And then as you rectify the healing and the emotional components to it, as an example, guilt and shame are so toxic to the body. They're some of the most harmful emotions to the body. And you start becoming more positive based, more love based, forgiving, gratitude. Those are huge for healing. If you want to create energy that really helps you heal, start having more joy, laughter. Gratitude is huge. Appreciation, just so you stop having these negative, toxic reactions and emotions that the body just can't handle at some point. And stress creates, I mean, it's been proven it creates a suppression of the immune system. And stress is really creates, as we were talking about earlier, a lot of the fibromyalgia. That's the core to it. So once you start, and that's one of the steps of the Aboriginal healing, is become aware what's creating this so you can stop it and start shifting it. So
Yep, that's what I learned too. It's, my a lot of people pleasers get muscle tension dysphonia, and I am one. Um, Not speaking your truth. I was
yeah.
in a relationship where there was a lot of conflict, and I'm a conflict avoider, so I just
Raise my hand to that one.
yeah, just
Yeah.
stuffed it all inside and just didn't say anything, and it was like, and that's my whole sort of history,
Yeah.
and being agreeable and not speaking my truth and getting angry and not knowing how to express anger.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna say I'm perfect at it anymore, but now I'm better at it, and I don't need to express it angrily, but there are ways to say, "Hey, I'm feeling a certain way. I'm feeling some
Yeah.
feelings coming up and wanna discuss them." So, I I did not mean to skim over how you healed yourself before you met Gary. And I just would love to hear a little bit about that, then kind of jump back because I do want to hear more about this and kind of how you execute. Because and that's actually what Unlearn Your Pain, which is a similar method that I was using. And I didn't finish the book, so I can't even credit the book. But there was a lot that happened. But it's a writing your feelings out. It's writing out and I've done 12 step. So it's similar to 12 step in let's go through our resentments. Let's kind of like break them down and how did that make you feel and what negative core belief came up for you? And
Mhm.
now how do we turn that into the opposite thought instead
Yeah.
of I don't speak up. It's like, I always speak up. I always share my truth, etc.
Yeah. Well, I was one of those who was very numb to their body. I really did not respect it or honor it or appreciate it. I used
Same.
to pull all night jobs where I'd work all night
Oh my
long and then
God.
show up
Yeah.
work the next day. That was very common. Um, and feed myself M&Ms as rewards during the night,
Yeah.
totally ignoring the body. And then I got to the point, and I thought I thrived on stress. It was like if I can have three phone lines blinking for me at the same time, I love it. But my body didn't love it.
Yeah.
So I had to learn in the fast lane, but never going fast enough to keep me happy. So I needed to learn to listen and honor and love and respect the body. And I had to really start right back at the bottom, because once you've almost killed yourself twice from medical situations, it's a lot harder to get back on your feet. And I was in bed for at least 6 months, couldn't get up. But you slowly take one step at a time. I was incredibly motivated to survive for my son and my husband. We were married at the time, my first husband. And so I just remember, what does my body want? Does it want more rest? Does it want tea was very big for people who had liver problems back then. I was one of the lucky ones in that my hepatitis came out early enough in my life, um, because I gave birth in 85 and had the blood transfusion in 85. Didn't really know this was going on, that hepatitis is a silent killer. It was attacking my liver until like 93, when I just had a full blown, collapse. So I was able to start really babying and nurturing that liver. And also, very importantly, paying attention to what kind of emotions am I creating. It's not just what are you eating, what are you drinking, it's also what are you feeding yourself emotionally. And stopped with being raised Catholic. I'm an expert in guilt. Any Catholic person who's had 12 years of parochial school has got that down. I had to learn to stop because guilt is so harmful. And it's more harmful than anger. Anger is a quick emotion where you release things, right? Guilt just hangs out in the cells. It just hangs out in the body, and it doesn't do anything other than create damage. So I needed to learn to, like you were talking about earlier, not be a people pleaser, but pay attention to what do I need. And I wasn't even on the list of what do I need. I was working 60 to 80 hours a week, building a home and raising a child. So there's not a lot of time for rest and taking care of myself in there. So I had to learn how to reprioritize. Basically, what it amounts to, Shannon, is learning to love myself and listen to my body. And I ended up healing all of it 100%. But I also know that I had a lot of help from the other side of the veil, because it was my soul's intention for me to heal. Because I was supposed to, first of all, I was getting the message now. I was doing what I needed to do. My body was aligned with healing eventually, with their help as well. And that's available to all of us. So, yeah, a lot of times, I remember when Gary and I were working and people would come to us from all over the world. We got to the point where he could do it remotely, and we were working together. And sometimes people would come with pages and pages of things that were wrong physically, both sides, right? And it's like, okay, how bad does it have to get before you're willing to pay attention to what needs to change and willing to make those changes? And I, again, will raise my hand. Obviously, a lot for me, because I had almost died twice. So I was a slow learner, but I got it eventually.
Me too, and I relate because I've always been an overworker,
Yes.
under earner, overworker, just hustle, 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 and at the time during that time as well, I developed severe adrenal exhaustion from working 2 jobs. I was working a day job and a night job. I was doing CrossFit. I was
Oh my.
drinking coffee, and finally I started shaking. I couldn't My boss said, "I gotta let you go because 'cause you're not being productive anymore. Because I was nodding off at work, and the
Yeah.
doctor said, "Your adrenals are like the adrenals of an 80-year-old." And I was
Yeah.
in my 40s, so I'm like, "That's," and I just couldn't get out of bed. So I thought I was identifying with chronic fatigue syndrome. I now know for me, I know you had that as well, it turned out it was adrenal fatigue, essentially, which I don't know, I think that's
Mhm.
different, maybe different, and it was really difficult. So many things were happening, so many things were wrong, and so I very much understand that, and my doctor actually said, I went to a holistic doctor, she said, "I'm surprised you don't have fibromyalgia," because as you talked about, fibromyalgia can be from serious trauma
Mhm.
and or
Mhm.
just like CPTSD is cumulative. It's not just one event, it's like a cumulative thing. The stress builds up, and my whole life, that was my story. As a
Yeah.
I mean, I was elective mute. I was mute at a kid as a child because my anxiety was so severe that I couldn't handle any kind of, like, interaction or
Yeah.
connection with other people because it was so overwhelming. and I got a lot of negative attention because of a birthmark on my face. So, and yes, I do see the correlation between the voice, not having a voice as a kid, becoming
Mhm.
an actor, losing my voice. I'm writing a book about it. So, but I wanted to ask you, so in terms of the healing, when people would come to you, what
Mhm.
would it be one session? Would it be 10 sessions? Would it be talk therapy, or would it be some kind of hands-on? What kind of modality was it, and how was it that you and Gary were helping to heal people?
Well, it depended on the person and their journey. And I remember we talk about in the story, the Awakening book. A number of those stories are in there about, having a blind child being brought to us and him being able to connect the eyeballs again, which were rolling around, or the young man who had just gotten married, but he had brain tumors that he was going to die from, certainly within a year, and he did not want to be there. So it doesn't matter whether they have the belief system or not. He was there only to appease his mother-in-law, his new mother-in-law. And Gary, I think, healed him in about 3 sessions. And so he went back to the doctors, and we encouraged them to go back in and have MRIs done or CT scans or whatever. And there were no brain tumors anymore. So
Amazing.
again, it comes back to, what is the soul's voice in this, right? What is the soul trying to tell you? And it's gotten your attention. It's made some major changes. Why? Why is this, in your life? So uh, it depends. What Gary would do is he would put his hand. If it was like a he would take his hand and kind of create a fist and put it at the base of their skull, and that would send the energy into their body, down through their body, like the little child who had was blind. He would put his hand there, and it would go into their system. We've also had animals that would come and sit. Like, I remember we would have animals that people would bring us, and they thought that the animal was getting healed. And what was happening is the animal, so Gary would have his hand on the animal. The animal was deliberately allowing that energy, that healing energy, to go into the person. There was a man who had a heart condition who didn't even know it, and the dog was allowing that energy to go through because he knew. It was just astonishing. So it would take a couple of sessions depending on the person, or one or two, and then he started realizing he was working with an angel named Julie that he discovered when he was in the outback. And so he was the eyes, the external body for Julie. This energy, he just considered himself a conduit. The energy would go through him, and Julie is the one who would be sending this healing energy. And of course he has a team, and I had a team, and it got to the point where we realized, okay, we can't do them one on one, and they're not all local. We realized we could have like a couple of crates of files on the counter, and he could have all of them being worked on at the same time, which may sound crazy, but magic is real. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It knows where to go. The energy knows
no,
where to
no.
go.
And all we needed to know is what the first name of somebody and the country they were, the city they were in across the world. Somehow they found out about us, and then it would work. And then there were other people it didn't always work for, or it worked for a little while, but it wouldn't sustain, or they would improve, but it wouldn't stay. Again, because it was the soul's journey and the soul was ready for them to pass. But
Mhm.
the people around them needed to let go of them and give them a little bit more time, that sort of thing. And often people that came to us that were in really bad shape, they were doing this not for them, they were doing it for their loved ones. So it was very interesting. And then I would communicate to the person. Gary's communicating on a telepathic level and talking to them and communicating with their guide and finding out what's going on, because their guide, their guardian angels, their spirit guides, is letting him know what's really happening, because they don't know what's the person doesn't know what's going on. And then once he would tell me that information, then I would communicate to the person and let them know, here's what needs to change. Here's what you've been doing, and here's how to get it out of that. Okay. Here's how to start seeing things differently. Here's how to call in help from the other side, whatever. So we were kind of worked together as a team. And I always negated what I did until I realized later my guides are like, he needed you. It was a lot more equal than you think. It's just that his was different than me. So I never, when he was around, I never ever communicated to the other side knowingly, because I would just trot over to Gary, what's going on? He would so connected to the other side. He could see who's in the room, you know. And then when he passed, that's when I started to realize, oh, I have the ability. We all have these abilities, but I wasn't developing them. And then I would start communicating to him after he passed over, and he would show up. He'd just show up at 8 o'clock in the morning, energetically, 8:00, always a very punctual man. And that was a shock, but it also woke me up to that, and being able to communicate and realizing I had healing gifts and I had a healing team, and that I could work on people anywhere in the world. I would usually have a 1 hour session, but it was enough to help them understand what was going on and how to change that, where they're getting hung up on, change the programming, change the perspectives so that they have more of an awareness of what's going on. A lot of times we're not even aware that we have the, like, guilt. I didn't even realize guilt was such a big part of my life until it was brought to my attention.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you said that, that we all have these abilities.
Yes.
And, I always tell people it's you just have to believe in it because that's the only thing stopping you. And
Yeah.
yes, some people are more sensitive neurologically than other people, like, I'm a highly sensitive person,
Mhm.
you probably are too, and so we may have it may come easier, but everybody can learn to do it, and everybody does have spirit guides and angels, so I do wanna get into that. First of all, when I know what you mean when you say that Gary came to you. I would love to know how you experienced Gary when he, well, first came through for you and even now. How
Oh
do you
yeah.
know? Like, how do you know? Because I know people always say, "How do you know it's them?" And what was your
Yeah.
experience? And did you hear it? Did you see it? Yeah.
Well, when he was still here in the physical world, I remember being in the shower one time, and I was washing my hair, and I had my eyes closed, and I saw this eye, this big eye. It was like a black and white of an eye. Okay, and I realized, oh, he's in the other room. We were in a hotel room. He's in the other room working on me, but I that was his pattern of energies. I could see this eyeball. And my sister, who came to help us out because we were so inundated with people, we needed help. So she came and helped us. That was the same thing for her. She would see this eyeball, like a black and white eyeball. I asked her to draw it, and she drew the exact same thing I was seeing. So when he passed, I was in so much grief. I was so upset that he had left and I was not with him. And he would show up where I would see this eyeball, and I knew that's him. And then when it started showing up at 8 o'clock every morning, every single morning, it's like, that's him. He's here. And then I started, again, very slowly, starting out with just the basics. I would put his wedding ring on a chain and use it as a pendulum to start, and he would communicate to me that way. And then I'd start being more tuned into the sensing him and sensing what he's guiding me with, and that he'd communicate through a number of different ways, just like all of our guides and angels do too. Are you more do you I was very attuned to music and the lyrics, so he'd pop lyrics into my head, right? A song would start playing that was exactly the lyrics that I needed to have. And so it was just we just kept building and building and building. And it's the same thing with your guardian angels and your spirit guides. You just start slowly. What do you pay attention to? You mentioned earlier that you get tingles in your body. I don't get that, but a
Mm.
lot of people do. That's very common. Everybody is clairsentient where they feel it. Everybody. And you get more tuned into it. You start really developing that muscle, and you start feeling that. I don't know if you get tingles in a certain
I
place.
do.
Okay. Top of your head.
Yeah. I top of my head, but it's only on my right side, and it's usually on my right thigh. Like, my right hip, thigh, knee is a very common place, but I would say I think I almost wanna say 100% of the time, it's only right side.
That's interesting.
Why I have no idea why.
Well,
Neurolog neurons or something?
no, well, and also it's the way it's been agreed upon before you incarnate. Like for
Ooh.
Gary, when he started communicating with Julie from the outback, when he first came back, the Aboriginal people taught him how learn to communicate with her, and she would do a yes on one side with the bottom earlobe, or a no with the other earlobe, and both of them when it's a maybe. And so that's how he learned. And it was the same thing with me. Right side was more whatever. But you start developing you and you start adding on, right? You start adding on. And it got to the point where I knew it was them when I would get an answer, like this huge download of information before I even finished asking the question. It's like, okay, so that's how you know it's them and not your mind. And I'm sure you had this experience, or I'm curious, Shannon, if you did, because it's very, very common. The challenge we face is learning to get the mind out of the way. It wants to negate it, it doesn't believe it. And so I started writing down all these experiences like, there is no way you can explain that one away. That was
Yeah.
definitely help from the other side. And started keeping a list so that it was like, okay, you can't possibly. It is real. Magic is real, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
I have the same thing. There are times where my abilities or the energy or whatever aren't as strong, and other times, and there's no rhyme or reason. It's just sometimes for a while I'm like, I haven't really felt spirit in a while. Or I may have a reading where I'm like, I don't wasn't really feeling connected.
mhm.
And then I always go back to the times where there's no possible way I could have known what I knew, down
Right,
to like last names, people's full
right.
names that I've never met before, or very specific details that are just there's no way. And just to remind myself, you are still a medium. You're just having like an off day, or maybe whatever. Who maybe there wasn't anyone meant to come in today, or whatever it is. But there is always. I actually have. I teach mediumship, and I have my students keep a journal for that reason of the signs that you see to
Mhm.
remember to go back to, or even asking for validation from spirit guides and angels and say, hey, can you show me something? And I shared this that I recently said, all right, spirit guides, show me. And I just randomly spit out Marvin the Martian, just because I figured I haven't even thought of that guy. And
I love Marvin the Martian.
yeah, I was like, I forgot all about that guy, but I said it. And 2 days later, I'm in traffic, and the car in front of me has a Marvin the Martian sticker on it. And I'm like, there, I've not seen a Marvin the Martian sticker ever.
Yeah.
It's very specific. So I have students keep that in their journal of
Yeah.
what did you receive? And also, when was your intuition correct
Yes.
in your life?
And you start to realize that it's child's play for them. It
Yes.
is so easy. And that's why they have these rules, because we're in a third dimensional existence, they're in a fifth or higher. And so it's just so easy. And so they have to they have to be it's so easy for them to manipulate things. That's why they have spiritual laws and other laws where they can't just go in and do things, and they won't just manipulate things. They will not they will not even intercept in certain situations unless we ask, because it's a free will planet. They have their own rules, but it is so easy. I just sometimes it's just comical, like, oh my gosh, they're just showing us how this is nothing. This is nothing. We can do this if it's what your soul wants. So ask away. They want to be asked. They want to help. They're here to help. We've never had such legions. They're giving me the word legions right now. Legions of help waiting to assist but needing to be asked. And once you ask, you've got to let go of the how is this going to happen and when is this going to happen, and let it happen in its own time, and let it happen in the way that's best for everyone. Because you can ask for to win the lottery, but if it's not your soul's intention, which it probably isn't,
Hmm.
they're not going to help you win that lottery. But they will bring you abundance in other ways. And it doesn't matter if there's 100 people that want that job. If your soul wants you to have that job, they will help you get that job. Or if that, they will never force anybody to do anything. And if the person hiring chooses not to, despite all the nudgings and everything else, they will help you find another one that fits what your soul.
Yeah, exactly. Hmm.
Yeah. And when you go down the path that your soul wants, you're going to love, love, love where it takes you. I'm sure you've discovered that in your work as well, that it's just, you're going to love where it takes you. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And you can keep, I get people who come to me a lot and they're like, well, should I be writing a book? Should I do a movie? Should I do, it's like, if your soul doesn't intend that, it's not going to work out. You can put all the energy and money and time into it, but here's what your soul really does intend for you to do. And you're doing what your soul intends right now.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. And I always do ask spirit guides
Yeah.
Listen, I'm giving you permission to intervene right now because I know
Yeah.
that you're not going to mess with anything. You're going to sit back and let me make my own choices, but show me the road and then I will walk down it. Just unfurl the red carpet. I'm not asking you to do the work for me, but show me the opportunity because I don't know what to do sometimes. And it's so fascinating because an example of that, and I'd love to hear one of yours, is that I was living in Virginia a few years ago. I had left LA, couldn't afford to live here anymore, and broke up with the boyfriend, left. And then 2 years later, it was time to renew my lease on my apartment, and I said, "I love Virginia, my parents are here, but I have no life here. I mean, I'm just destined for so much more than this, and I don't know where to go now because I don't." I said, and I was driving for DoorDash, I had, like, $30 in my account, and I was like, "Please, please, please, I need to know where to go now." And the very next morning, my friend called from Prescott, Arizona, and said, I just had this like chills through my whole body, but there's this job that I think would be perfect for you in Prescott. And do you want to just come move here? She's like, I have an apartment for you because she's a landlord. She's like, I've got an apartment, I've got a roommate lined up for you, I've got a job lined up for you. And I didn't even hesitate. I said, yeah, thank you. I mean, that literally, it was the answers. You're moving to Prescott. And
Yeah.
then it was if I meant to move back to LA, let the opportunity open up. And 2 years later, the house that I'd always wanted to live in opened up. And it was like,
Yeah.
my friend, and so I said, "If it's meant to be, then please show me the road. I will walk down it."
Yes, guide me too. And I like to say, let's do this with ease, grace, and joy, right? I don't need to be hit upside the head with a spiritual two by four to get there, but
Yeah.
I allow them to help me. Um, and that makes a huge difference. Not only can they guide you, Shannon, but they can also help you get there easier. Again, with your permission. It's always free will, but I've learned and I was kind of shocked to hear this, but it makes sense now. I get it. They said that using their guidance, using their help is like operating at 5 amps of power on your own versus 5,000 amps of power with their help. You're welcome to do that. Operate on 5 amps of power. But if you want to, that 5,000 amps is available to help you. Why not? And they want to help. And here's the beautiful part: when you allow them to help you, they are assisting you out of tremendous high degrees of love. And so when you grow by allowing them to help you, it allows them to grow. It's a very symbiotic relationship. So as you allow them to help you because they're serving you out of love, that allows them to grow. We were designed to have this help. We were never designed to be doing this alone. It's just that they have kept that information from us. We have not, our minds doesn't want to believe it. It doesn't want to hand over and work together as a team. But it's not a prayer, oh, please help me. It's a thank you. Thank you for helping me find a career that I love, that pays the bills, that gives me enough money to travel, whatever. Thank you for helping me find the best home. And here's one of my examples because it's endless. I mean, I ask their help for everything, anything and everything. No small, nothing's too small, too big, too frequent. They love it. I asked them to help me find a place. I was going to move up into the islands to help take care of my young grandson a little bit while his parents were teaching. And so I said, I need to find a place in the San Juan Islands. And it took a while, it took about 4 months. And my guides are like, there things would come up, but they're like, well, we got something better in mind. But so I knew if I could settle anytime I wanted. But I knew if I waited, they were going to find me something that was going to be great. And the initial place they had in mind did not come through for me. So they just went to plan B. I don't even need to know what plan A was, right? They just moved on. And they found me this place that I have been here now for 10 years. It's so over the top, it's ridiculous. I can look out the window right here and see mountains and sailboats sailing past the mountains. The cetaceans are all over up here. I mean, it's just like, oh, that was well beyond what I had in mind. Thank you. you know. But if you let them assist you, it's amazing. It's amazing because the mind, here's the key, the mind is a tool designed to follow the guidance from the soul. And the soul will guide you into what will bring you what you need, what's in your best interest, how to heal, how to find the right relationship, job, home, partner, whatever. The mind doesn't know how to do that. It wasn't designed to know how to do that. The mind is designed to take the guidance from this higher consciousness, the soul, the guides, the angels, your inner higher inner self. So it's important to realize that the mind is a very beautiful, powerful tool, but it's designed to be a servant to the soul. It's designed to follow that inner guidance. And that's where people get hung up. And so when their mind gets behind the driver's wheel, you can always tell because there's a lot of fear. It doesn't want to go down certain alleys that your guides are trying to get you to go down there because you need to let go of some stuff. We need to drop some packages off down this alley, whatever. So packages of guilt, that's what they just gave me. But it's recognizing when the mind is engaged. And a lot of times people are like, I can't tell the difference between my mind versus my guides. And it's like, well, if you get a quick, and you're probably the same way, if you get a quick, instant answer, I
Yeah.
get them before I finish asking the question. I know that's them. It's the second or third thought that chimes in. That's usually the mind.
Ah, that's such a great way to distinguish because sometimes I still get confused or
Yeah,
not, sometimes even and I tell the people that I read for that just so you know, there are gonna be some thoughts of my own that are gonna get in the way. So,
right.
I'm not going to be 100% accurate. So, please take what resonates and understand that
Yes.
there's some we have to kind of winnow grain from chaff while we're doing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I know for sure, and other times I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
So
I'm
then,
not sure.
and I
Yeah.
can lay all this out in a really quick 60-day guidebook, the living your best life, how to communicate and work and develop a better relationship with your guide, your angels. And here's what you do. Here's how you raise your frequency so it's easier for you to communicate. Here's how you recognize when it's your mind. Here's how you recognize when they're helping you, when they're not. But a lot of times it's about, like, if you get a thought, and this is all in that book. When you get a thought that's directly there when you first wake up, that's from the other side. Again, that second or third thought, okay, now the mind is starting to play the game with you. So I will ask my guides again, let them help you with everything. Thank you for helping me recognize when my mind is behind this versus you. And then they make it more clear. They may not make it more clear right there in that moment, but it'll come. It'll come.
Yeah.
So I ask them for anything and everything. Thank you for helping me get my mind out of the way, because a lot of people who are really, really exceptional healers, or doing podcasts, whatever you're doing, it's really important to let them guide you rather than have the mind at the head of the table. And so you've got this whole team behind you working with you. Here's I went to here's a perfect example. I was invited to go speak at this gathering of people who meet every year, who are doing phenomenal things around the world. Like, they're running refugee camps, they're working with the UN on women's relationships, or how to help women and children. Amazing people from all over the world. They get together, there's about 100 of them. You have to be invited. Somehow I got invited to go, and I thought, well, this is not my target audience. They're not, I don't know how spiritual they are. And I kept getting, go, just go. It's very important that you go. And I thought, well, this is going to cost me money. I have to take a float plane into a isolated island up in the Canada. It just didn't make sense financially. They're like, just go. Well, I get there and I just felt like a fish out of water. And at the very beginning of this conference, they said, all right, what do you people want to learn? How can we help you? And one guy, one of the original founders, raised his hand and said, I would like to learn how to work more with guides from the other side. And I'm like, I'm your gal. And so he set up classes, so that he set up the whole thing, and I would just go in and teach, right? It was he knew how to do all this. So at the end of it, at the very end of this 3-day conference, they said, we want to know what was helpful for people, especially helpful. And a number of people said that my class was a life changer for them, because they forgot that they weren't doing this alone. And my guides are like, these people are doing phenomenal things, but they're trying to do it with just their mind. They're not letting us assist them. They're a team player, but they're not, they're the human member of the team and they don't know that. So that's when I realized, okay, just, you may not understand it, but follow where you're being guided to go, because it's how you can do the work that you're here to do in the best way, so that I don't waste a lot of time and money and energy. You know, they bring people to me and they let me know who they want me to help and who not to, and where to spend my money. And they make sure, because this is all done with love, that I have more balance and free time than I've ever had before. They're not going to ask you to do it if it's unhealthy. And so I handed it all over to them and they're like, yeah, don't do that. That's a waste of time. But here, we want you to do this. We highly suggest you do this. And so you become the human member of the team. And that means putting your mind back into its designated support staff role, because you've got this amazing team. You're the human. They work through you. Let them guide you on the best way to do that.
So well said. How was it that I'm just curious how you came to learn about working with with angels, spirit guides, and also would love to hear your take on the difference between angels, spirit guides, and guardian angels.
Yeah, and let's throw in deceased loved ones too, okay?
Please. That's my favorite thing to talk about.
Okay, all right. So again, all of this is in that book, that little handbook, and I don't really talk about that much. It's not really advertised much because it's not really mainstream, but it's something your target audience would appreciate. Um, that one book about the living your best life, how to work with your
I'm
spirit.
excited to read that one.
Yeah. Oh, it's like you do a page a day, or you can do them all.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's everything laid out, condensed. This is it. These are
perfect.
the steps, whatever. So when I was with Gary, he came back from the outback and he developed, like the Aboriginal tribes people did, the ability to just communicate to the other side. He could see his angels, he could see who was around the room, he could see all the people, and the guides, and he could communicate with them very easily. So that was not, you get to the point where it's you believe it because you see it every day, and he was, it was proven many times over and over. But I never really thought I had those gifts. I just thought that's him. He's different. And when he passed, so I was very comfortable with angels. And I remember the Aboriginal people in the outback saying angels have always been around. Every culture knows about it. Most religions talk about it. Um, so that really kind of put radar angels back on our radar. When Gary passed and he started showing up, he kind of gradually led me down that path of communicating and start working with angels and guides. And then I started, and that's him up in the corner, the picture up there. Uh,
Oh,
so then
hi,
I saw,
Gary.
yeah, he's pretty much confined to the office. Because I found out you can't really have a romantic relationship if there's a third person in the relationship. So he knows he's just confined to the office. But anyway, so when I started working and doing healing work and consultation myself after he passed, he was helping more from the other side. And they had told us he's leaving, he needs to pass because he can help more now from the other side. He became part of my team with the angels and guides. And so I realized that I have this amazing team. He's part of the team. And I would get people who were able to communicate and see him, and they didn't even know who he was, some of them. And then I get emails from people all over the world, and I get people who were, I didn't realize that there was energy in these books. I just knew they were going like crazy. Like I said, 47 countries, that's a lot of countries. And I would get emails that were there, they'd always start out with, you're going to think this is strange, but, and I'm like, probably not. They'd say that, like one woman wrote, she was from Canada, and she said how she had just bought the book, one of the books, had a receipt in it. And she said, I handed it to my husband because I had to find something in my purse. And she said, I noticed my hands were gold. And I noticed that then I looked over and the book and the receipt are gold. And then I see my husband's hands are gold. And that's because there's energy connected to these, including, oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. That's how you know it's really strong. The Aboriginal healers who have given us this information. They are behind that energy. They are just continuing to heal from the other side. So I'm the human person the human member of the team who can go and do these things and put this information in the right hands or whatever. But that's so beautiful. When I don't know if you're like this too, Shannon, when you get this really strong hit where they really want to emphasize something, they will bring me to tears. And right now, the Aboriginal healers are sending so much love. I'm just having to hold the tears back. That's the love that they have in this, the books that they're sending out, and it's just it's beautiful. There's, and that's, I think, why people resonate with it, is it feels like truth and they can feel it, and it's a more complete picture for healing, getting the mind and the soul involved. And then the last two books were about, okay, now that you know what's going on and you know where your mind's creating problems. A lot of people say, well, I know my mind's the problem, but I don't know how to change it. It's like, okay, then the last two books have been about angels and guides, angels in waiting, and then the workbook, so to speak, the guidebook, living your best life. It's like, okay, now here's how to use this help from the other side. Guides, angels, everybody has a guardian angel or one or more. I mean, it's a collective energy, but, and they're androgynous and they do not lose patience with us. They have nothing but love, and they are always there with you. They make sure that you do not experience something that you're not in, that your soul doesn't intend, or are not killed if it's not your soul's intention. They're there to guide you. That's why they have permission to step in cases of emergency, to make sure that you're not abused if it's not something
Yeah.
soul intends for you to go through that experience. They are always there waiting to assist you, and they are the easiest to communicate to. So when they wanted me to write this last book about living your best life, I think that's what it's called. Um, they said, tell people to communicate with their guardian angel first. That's all they need to know. If you want to communicate with others, that's great. But it's easiest with your guardian angel because you were designed to have this help. The spirit guides are those who have lived a human life. They have been incarnated in a physical body. Angels have not necessarily, they can, and they will briefly take on a human form if they need to, but they don't. This is like a school they don't need to go through. They're already graduated all that. But spirit guides have lived many, many lives. So you might have, if you have an illness, you might have a spirit guide that comes in who knows how to help you with that. Or if you have an autistic child, you may have a spirit guide who was autistic, or was an autistic parent to help you with that. So they will come and go depending on what you're going through. Um, uh, Ascended masters are just, they have lived human lives, and they are highly evolved. Again, they're all highly evolved, and we only work with loving, benevolent energy. We do not go near negative stuff. People said, how do I know? It's like, we're just not going down those alleys. uh, Loved ones who have passed over, and they would come in quite often when I was doing a consultation with somebody on the phone. They are there who are, and you may not even know them. You may not have ever known your great grandfather, but he loves you tremendously and follows you and guides you and assists you. Again, they have rules and parameters that they have to follow, but they do help and assist. So, loved ones, and this again is outlined in that living your best life, you're not stopping them from anything by asking them for help or talking to them. They can be in many places at many times. And actually, animals come through. And when animals come through, for me, I was just sobbing. There's so much love coming from them. So I don't know that the animals come back that much to assist, but they will come back sometimes in other animals. But your deceased loved ones will often help. Gary's one of them. He continues to help. So I have no idea that if I have no problem knowing that if, and there was a number of examples we gave in the book, the Awakening book. My sister, he loved my sister. She was just she's a sweetheart. And when she was moving, um, he gave her such clear signs. He showed up as a hummingbird. He wasn't the hummingbird, but the hummingbird was.
Yeah.
He was working through the hummingbird. She didn't know if this is the place, and it's like, and then a hummingbird just came out of nowhere and just buzzed her in her face. It's like, okay, this is the place. I get it.
Yeah, it's so cool how they do that. And I do explain to people it's not that your grandmother is the ladybug or is the bird. They are using their energy to prompt the bird or the ladybug to come towards you. So I have
Yeah.
one of my best friends sadly lost her baby at 5 days old, but
Oh,
the beautiful thing is that she comes as butterflies, and her other children, well, her oldest butterflies will just land on her and hang out there for hours, like, they won't leave her, and
Yeah.
I mean, I've experienced butterflies, but never have they come and landed on me, just out in the wild,
Right. That's
and it's
so beautiful.
always
Yeah. So beautiful.
it's
They're there.
incredibly beautiful,
They're
yeah,
yeah, they're there. We just have to wake up to it. Yeah.
yeah, and, on that note, yeah, waking up to it, I think, it's sometimes I remember when I was in 12-step recovery, people I think it was my sponsor, somebody was like, "Remember, you're forgetting you have angels, like, you have spirit guides or whatever to ask." And sometimes we just go, I don't know what I'm gonna do," and one of my most amazing experiences was that I was flat broke, I couldn't pay my rent. Fortunately, I had a landlord who was a saint, and, he owned the building, and he was like, "I love you, I don't want you to freak out," and I'm like, "I don't have a job, and I have no money." So, I had someone from 12 Steps say, "I want you to do this exercise where you take a box," and we're calling it a God box. "I want you to write all your fears on little pieces of paper and then put them in the box and say, 'God,' whoever of your understanding, your guides, I don't know how to fix this. So I'm handing it over to you." And I was dubious, but I was like, I'll do whatever I gotta do. The next day, a friend called and said, "Hey, I work at a casting office, and I know you work with musicians a lot, and we're looking for musicians for this commercial. And I'll take you out to lunch as a thank you." And I said, "Well, I appreciate that, but you don't need to do that. I just love connecting people." And he said, "Really? Well, that's it. Well, we actually could use some extra help around here, if you want to kinda, like I don't know how long we can employ you, but we do need a little extra casting help, so why don't you come in and work the door tomorrow, and we'll just kinda train you." And while I was there, the casting agent assistants were like, "Hey, we're casting this job for this brand, and we have to ask people to tweet about the brand. And, so can you just tweet about why you like this particular brand? Because it's just we have to ask a lot of people." So I did it, and, I ended up getting cast for this commercial,
Yeah.
and it paid $20,000. And
Yeah.
like, and it was a real person thing. It was like a real testimonial kinda thing, and they
Yeah.
picked me, they looked me up on Facebook, they're like, "Cool," and they came in like, camera crew, and I thought it was just gonna be a small little thing because they weren't allowed to tell me, and it turned out that for months, I just kept getting checks and checks and checks, and then I ended up working at that office for a while, and the pay wasn't great, but I loved it. I loved doing casting, for commercials, so it was the
Yeah.
next day, I was submitted for this thing and got it. It was like
Yeah.
that was one of my I just can't believe I mean, it was amazing, and so, I'm not gonna say that will happen again, it has to be in everyone's highest and best good.
Right.
Maybe your soul needed to, for example, not be able to pay your rent for so that you'd end up moving into your car and ending up in the right place at the right time, but for whatever reason, that was aligned, and
Yes.
it can happen if it's in everybody's highest and best and according to their soul's plan.
Right. Right. So it may not be exactly what you want, but it will be something that will work well for you. I'm glad that you said that. It needs to be in the highest and best good of all and according to your soul's desires. But for the most part, they want you to be happy and healthy and have not typically not striving to survive. Sometimes there's some people choose to come in and experience that, but that's usually not the case. So if you allow them, they will guide you there. They'll help. They'll not just guide you there. They'll actually give you energies. They'll give you words will come out of your mouth, right? The timing, the synchronicities. It's just so fun to watch.
I
They
know.
they love taking care of you. And right now it's such an amazing time to be on the planet. We all chose to be here as we're birthing, a new human. Gaia wants help, and they're all coming. We have huge amounts of help like we've never had before. They want you to have joy, to be in nature, to be in these high energies of love and compassion. Allow them to help you do that. And so that means getting rid of the fears, getting rid of the judgment, and allow them to help you do that. Your mind doesn't know how to get there, but they can. So I like to say, thank you for helping me let go of what doesn't serve me. Thank you for helping me open up to what's in my best interest to open up. Thank you for helping me find the awe and wonder in every day and the joy. And it's just, it's really cool. That to me, Shannon, that's the big game changer. Big game changer when you start allowing this assistance to help. It's huge. Again, that 5 amps versus 5,000. It's just child's play for them, and they can make it so much better and easier and bigger than you ever imagined. It's just, I don't know about you, but I don't get stressed. I don't
Yeah.
feel, because I just know, okay, I haven't got this figured out yet, but I'm not going to try to figure it out. I'm going to let them guide me and help me. And that's how you know your mind is engaged and behind the wheel again when it's trying to figure it out. I like to use this example of how they're like, when you're driving the car and you got to get the mind out from behind the steering wheel and be like that dog that's hanging out the car window, right? It's excited and it's
Yeah.
curious, but it's not trying to grab the wheel. And it knows that whoever's behind that wheel loves them tremendously and has their best interest. And some days that dog needs to go to the vet to get its teeth cleaned, and some days it gets to go to the dog park. But they have your best interest at heart. So hand it over, let them behind the wheel, and let them take you to what it is you asked, and it's usually better than what you imagined. So, and if it's not what you wanted or it's not what you had in mind, thank you for helping me find peace with this. Peace and acceptance. Joy. Thank you. Watch what happens. And you will notice over time. And sometimes, and this is what I was telling people that would come for consult, you're going to notice every holiday you're a little bit better. Every year you're much, much better. You just get rid of all the fears. You start becoming more aware of what you've been doing and how to stop it. You don't hang out in those negative, dark alleys, that stuff that's toxic. And you start just finding joy and awe and love and compassion and gratitude, and they just keep giving you more and more and more. It's beautiful.
I know that's why this is called Magic is Real because once, like you, I was not
Yeah.
into spirituality at all.
No. Clue.
And yeah, I was totally, and I still am very logical. I will definitely, if somebody says there's an orb in a picture, I'm like, well, let's first rule out what the scientific explanation is, or
Yeah.
is that a lens flare? Is that a light? I know that these things do exist. And also, let's first find what the logical explanation is. So, um, I love to hear from people like you that are very logical and intelligent and also embrace that there is magic in this world. And when we say magic, we mean like just the
Yeah.
beauty and the excitement. People have, I don't know, some troll or something is like, oh yeah, magic. Like I'm doing some kind of dark arts or something. And that's not at all what I mean. It's just the magic of waking up every day knowing that we don't know what's going to happen next. And sometimes really terrible things will happen and we will feel hurt and we will be in pain. You lost your husband. That's a really painful thing to go through. And we've all been through grief, but also there's so many exciting things around the corner if we just ask for help. And like we said, can't promise it's all going to be bunnies and rainbows, but your soul
But
will. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But also recognizing and start feeling that you are loved more than you can possibly imagine, and that you are amazing. You are extraordinary, and you just start to realize more and more as you wake up how you are divine, encapsulated. You're not a drop of the ocean of divine. You are the ocean in a drop. Big difference. And this is what you start waking up to. And that I think the thing that I needed to, because I was really a harsh critic, really tough critic to myself. Um, then my guides were kind of, over time they helped me realize you're extraordinary. Just being a human, it's not an easy choice, and you are loved and cherished and adored more than you can possibly ever know from the other side. And so when you have that kind of love, wanting to assist you, why wouldn't you take advantage of that and let them help you? And you're then helping them. That allows them to grow and to be of service and tremendous love. So,
Yeah, I tell people you don't even have to believe in it.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Just I like my, and I don't say that to strangers, but I have a very close friend who's an atheist, but he totally supports what I'm doing, and is that's we're such good friends. And I said, we just do it. I don't question it. Just, and he, the cool thing is he's on board. He's like, you know what? I'll do whatever I got to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
He's very open. I did a reading for him once and brought his mom through, and he was like, well, I don't know how you knew that, but that's something, like it's kind of,
Yeah,
and so he's that kind of guy. But I think sometimes I just say, you know what, even if I know it sounds woo woo, I know it sounds crazy to some people, but just try it. Like the God box, I wasn't quite where I'm not where I was not very spiritual at that time. And I wasn't not a believer, but I also was like, yeah, right. Well, we'll see. And
yeah,
literally the next day. And also, what am I going to do? Where am I going to live? Show me the road the next day. It
yeah,
happens fast if it's meant to happen.
yeah.
Or it happens in divine timing. Maybe something has to happen first for that thing to be aligned.
Excellent point. Sometimes there are other pieces that need to be put in line before that corner piece comes in. Yes. So there's that
Yes.
divine timing. Don't tell them how to do their job, you
Yeah.
know, and that when this is supposed to show up and how it's supposed to show up. Let them do what they do. And that's the control thing about just go back to looking out the window like the dog. Just be curious and excited, but not knowing how this is going to happen and when this is going to happen. Pretty excited something's going to happen.
It's so true. And I sometimes forget. I don't know. Sometimes I get in real fear about things occasionally. And I have kind of like lost my grip for a week and been like, okay, let me just spiral for a week and then I'll come back and be like, okay, no, 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 it's going to be okay. There's still the humanness there
Yeah.
that I sometimes am like, okay, but I'm having faith, but I have $37 in my bank account. Like,
Yeah.
what is going to happen? And rent's due tomorrow, and, but that's kind of the fun is that something always does happen
Yep.
to catch me when I think I'm falling, which is why I tattooed trust on my wrist to remind
Ah.
myself as a touchstone. Like, it feels like you're really, like, falling off that cliff and are you sure? Are we sure I'm getting caught here somehow, some way? You always get caught, or I don't wanna say I always get caught. I wanna say, speaking from experience, and the times when I haven't, it's because it was in my greater good, like losing my voice. So now I had no career. Now I'm living on credit cards. Now what am I gonna do? It led me to the most beautiful place
Mhm.
of, yes, the money isn't what it used to be, and also I am so calm like you. I feel, like, peaceful. I'm
Yeah.
not working 10-hour days, stressing out every day about work, working a million I'm just able to be centered and
Yeah.
peaceful and be in alignment.
And that maybe this is a stepping stone to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And to just be okay with that. Okay, they know better than I. And that sometimes, especially with relationships, romantic relationships, there's experiences that you're supposed to pick up.
Yeah.
And so you need that before you can get to the one that is going to be long-term high quality.
Yeah.
So there is reasoning behind it and just allow it. Well, if this is what I'm supposed to experience, then thank you for helping me get through this with as much ease, grace, and joy as possible. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
all of it, and, so thank you. I'm so excited to share this with my audience, because you're just such a special person and I just adore you. And I love everything that you had to share. It's so hopeful, so inspiring. I know I've had chronic things before, illnesses, migraines, I still have. But there are things that I've had for long periods of time where I thought I'd never get through it. One was the muscle tension dysphonia. One was SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which led to all of that.
Right.
I today was eating a piece of fruit and I'm like, "Oh my God, remember when I couldn't eat I couldn't eat I couldn't eat a blueberry for 5 years because it would explode in my stomach." It was like, eventually I healed. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God, I think I just ate sugar and I'm okay." Like, I'm
Yeah.
okay. So, it's fascinating, and I'm so happy that you have this hopeful message to bring, because there are people that have horrible, way worse than I've had, chronic pain, fibromyalgia, cancer, all kinds of things. And the fact that if it's in our if it's sort of possible for us to heal, we can heal. Um, you
And
know.
to keep in mind too, not all the time, but sometimes people come in very deliberately to heal that in family lines
Mhm.
because you heal. Maybe you are finally the one who will come here in this generation, this lineage that's not unusual, to heal this fibromyalgia or whatever it is by getting rid of these emotions that create this, right? So that you're not passing it on.
Right.
And that and we're so brave, and I think especially your audience, they're much more attuned and aware, and have chosen some very challenging, brave journeys. Well, if you're then you should definitely be using all the help available to you, because it doesn't have to be hard. Maybe you're here to finally help release the fears that your family
Yeah.
has always had, and so to do that, your mind doesn't know how to do that, but they can not only help you know how to do it, but they can help you do it. That's the key. Not just give you the knowledge and the guidance, but help you do it. And the energies that they download or that they shift you and change you. It's just, like I can't say it any more than it's just a huge game changer.
It's like a superpower that I know I
Yes.
didn't know I had. That's
Yes.
part of the magic is real message is, oh, wait, I have this thing in my tool belt I can use. And it's what helped me heal from sex and love addiction, which is how I kind of came into spirituality and understanding that when I saw how it worked, it was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
now I'm seeing that when you do surrender and stop trying to steer your own ship.
With the mind, the very
Yes.
fear-based negative mind, right? It's not a disempowerment. Yeah, we're
No.
not taking your power away. If anything, you're becoming more empowered, and you're bringing in high level assistance as well. Again, this is the lifetime for a lot of us where we're here to get rid of the last of the fears. And so, if you have a fear about money or about cancer, whatever, they're going to bring it to you and help you learn to let go of that. Uh,
Yes.
because that's what you are here to do, and this is where what happens, and this is what people used to see all the time when I was doing consults with them, is they would be like, it's just it's just not there. It goes
Mhm.
away. So you realize I am taken care of. I can heal this. I or I can certainly improve if my soul isn't on board with the healing at 100%. There's just so much more that you can do, and then when you just let that mind stop trying to steer the ship, like you said earlier, where it's doing it with so much fear,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not the way to get you where you want to go. So this is much more grace filled. It's love filled, and that's what we're here to do: is to bring more love and compassion and get rid of these fears and these negativity, toxic emotions that don't serve us. And our body is telling us, the body doesn't lie. The body's telling you where you're getting into trouble with your mind. That's what it's doing. It's very paired up, and it's not going to, the mind will lie to you, but the body will not. And it's telling you, here's where the problem lies. And so then allow your team to help you. You don't even need to know what it is you need to let go of. Thank you for helping me let go of whatever it is I need to let go of, right? Or open up my heart to something that's a real challenge. I haven't a clue how I could do that, but I know I can do it with your help. Thank you. Yay.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm going to have a link below to where to find you, but if you can just tell us verbally in case somebody's visually impaired, can you just say where we can reach, where people can reach you? I'm sure your books are all available on the normal places where you can get books, but also on your website. So if you can just tell us what your website is and anything else you'd like to share about upcoming
Yeah.
events or anything like
I
that.
don't. I no longer do one-on-one consultations. We have an online healing course that's 100% guaranteed. If you're not happy with it, 100% money back. That's on the website, and the
Beautiful.
books are there. They just wanted us to put it all out there, and the website has a lot of free information, a lot of different about angels, healing, all of it. And the website is wholeswellness.com. HOLZ, as in zebra, wellness, WELLNESS.com, Holz Wellness. And the books are under Robbie Holz, HOLZ. So it's we tried to I just follow the guidance on what the guys are like. This is what they want, this is what they need. So it's like, okay. They I kept thinking I was going to do a children's book, and they're like, nah, they're not ready for a children's book yet, but this is what they really need. And so that was where the last that 60-day guidebook came up. They're like, this is really helpful. So that's all,
And then the
guys.
children's book. And
That
then the
one's not
children's
yet, not
Yeah,
yet.
okay.
We'll see what they have. They'll let me know when they want me to do that one.
Yeah.
Timing,
Well,
because timing is everything.
it is. And you'll know when it's time. You'll know exactly when it's time.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thank you, Robbie Holz. I was going to say RobbieHolz.com, but thank you, Robbie Holz, for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you and getting to know you. And thank you for these wonderful insights that you've shared.
Thank you. I've loved talking to you. I
Me
love how
too.
you just made this happen. So thank you.
Me too. Thanks.
Okay. Much love to you.
You too.
Bye bye.